Hi Steve, it's me, Derek, Derek Martin. This is I guess, a portion of the results part of my final report for Module 6. I was asked to provide concrete examples and explain how those tie to some of the learning outcomes in the previous modules. Everything I've done is for the most part, this project is web-based and it's kind of hard to just um, you know email it all to you. So I thought maybe using the technology I used in this project to submit the project made good sense. And I mean, I think this is how education should work, and this is my education. So the idea was I was going to podcast my lessons and screencast, which is where I capture what's on the screen, and provide that to students through iTunes. I've been doing screencasting a little bit, and this pushed the envelope a fair ways for me. The way I was going to do it, proposed in the write-ups, was I was going to buy what you see here on the screen now, which is an iPod Nano, and I was also going to buy this thumbtack microphone that plugs into the iPod Nano and clip it on my shirt and record my lessons and then provide that recording or that podcast back to the students through iTunes U. That's what I did. It worked. Let me show you maybe what iTunes U looks like. When students log in, we have a portal, probably similar to something you would have at your college, and they can click. They wouldn't have the faculty one, or sorry, they wouldn't have the admin. They could click in as a student one. I've tried to get you access to this, and it really hasn't gone well. IT is reluctant to give access to anybody outside the college. If this video doesn't suffice, I can expand on whatever you want, or I can email you my username password if you promise not to tell IT, and you can sort of troll around, and at the end of it I'll just change my password. But hopefully this will suffice. They'd click on the iTunes logo. Once on the iTunes logo, what would come up would be iTunes Store, and they would start at the Georgian College iTunes site. So this is housed on the Georgian server, and I've created an iTunes U site for my course, Electronic Fundamentals. And then in here, I built all of this sort of area. In here, you'll see there's a series of videos, tabbed under videos. These are all screencasts that I've made, and I'll show you some of those. And then there's also all of the different podcasts for all the different lessons. Again, you can see varying in length, broken down by week. I made a few mistakes where you'd forget to press start or forget to press stop, and I'd have to edit it and crop it, and it was more technically challenging than I'd expected. But basically the students would then click get, and this video would be downloaded to their laptop, phone, whatever they were using, and then they could listen to the entire class again, or they could watch sort of these tutorial videos. Some of them were even I'd give them problems in class and have them solve them. So it was a good two-way sort of feedback. I could do a problem and then make a video on how to solve a similar problem that they could try at home. Again, in the podcast, I had intros and reviews and all sorts of stuff like that. When they say get, it would just show up in their playlist. I've downloaded one here so you can see. I guess skipping a step there, you would record it, and then when I plug my Nano into the computer, iTunes would ask me if I wanted to sync the two. I would sync them, and then I could upload that synced file into here, change its description, and edit it however I needed. So here's an example of one of the ones I downloaded. It's just a voice memo that I downloaded from one of the weeks. And I'll go back.
Which way with the arrow?
Here. So from the beginning.
Yeah, the end of the year. It's week 3, 8:05, September 17th. That's better than my mumbles. September 17th. So last week was diodes. We talked a little bit about types of diodes, shapes of diodes. More importantly, we talked about their function, which was...
I think you get the idea. I mean, it goes on for 36 minutes in this case. So students could download it, and I encourage students to make notes at the time. So I gave the date and the time at the start of the podcast. And then they would make notes along the way saying at the 20-minute mark there was something I'd like to go back and review or rehear. It also helped me that then I could, when I was developing tests, make sure I'd covered things properly. It increased student engagement. It certainly fell under advanced delivery. I mean, it really was an engaging project. There was a lot of back and forth between the students and I. The biggest back and forth probably came because we had to have multiple times trying to get this meetings where we were trying to get iTunes working on all their devices. I would say the one flaw with this project was that I was asking everybody to use a very proprietary piece of software like iTunes. I realized about midterm or week 7, 8 that maybe I should transition to something a little different. And I started looking at YouTube, and there's some other sort of podcasting type softwares out there. I'll show you some of that in a bit, but generally the result was fantastic. The students loved it, and I think their educational experience, student engagement, and all of those sort of catchwords, you know, it hit all the learning styles that aren't always hit in a traditional classroom. I think it did that well. So going back here, that's sort of how that all worked. In Blackboard, what I did, and here's a couple different Blackboard sites. Maybe I should show you YouTube. I started realizing that the screencasting would work better in YouTube, so I switched over and I started putting files up on a YouTube account for them. And you'll see I got 31 files. I think I'm up to, let me check. And again, I didn't know how to do all of this before I started here. I've been playing a lot. Yeah, I'm up to about 3,100 views with 4 current subscribers. And there's a lot of stats here, but basically under Video Manager now you can see here's all my videos, and these are the ones that were for that course last semester. You can see I'm up 140, 163 hits, 300 hits. There was a lot of this went off really, really well. I realized partway through that I was posting them last semester, and here you can see this is my Blackboard site for that same course. It says these videos or podcasts are available through iTunes U. It's the exact same content. I just, because of the iTunes proprietary software issue, it worked great for those that subscribed and used it. For some of the mature students and non-Apple people, and that's the feedback I did get. It's outlined in the report. This worked better, and I just simply embedded these YouTube videos right here in my Blackboard shell, so that students could come into Blackboard and watch the videos here, which I found worked a lot better. This last semester, and I'll show you here, because I still have it open. This last semester that I just did now, we'll go to the student view. I've had one extra semester to play with this now since the first course I tried it on. And I actually now have it where I create playlists for the videos. This is a completely different course, completely different content. I think that shows how this technology is kind of seamless through all. You'll see here now that there's a playlist and all the videos are listed at the bottom, and they can just pick off the one they want. And I simply now in here modify the playlist here in YouTube, and it automatically modifies it in Blackboard. There's similar softwares, I've mentioned a few of them, that do the same with podcasting. So the podcasting was awesome, although I have to admit I think I'm reluctant to continue using Apple as the base for it all. There's just too much Android stuff out there. There's just too many people not technically savvy enough that I'm forcing them to install software and work with software. I gave the example in my report. It's kind of like if the technology is too difficult to use, you know, someone having a phone conversation's too busy focusing on the phone to have a conversation. I think I had students too busy focusing on the technology and not worrying about the content that was being delivered. But that's not to say it didn't work well. It did work well. The hits were up. I had lots of subscribers. I had students requesting podcasts on iTunes. But it definitely was a huge success. So much so, in fact, I've been asked to present this to the entire college in mini sessions through our Center for Teaching and Learning. And I'll be presenting it at a conference called Focus on Teaching that is geared this year towards innovation and unique delivery methods. So, I mean, it's gone over probably too well. It's amounted to a lot more work than I really wanted. But it's been a huge success. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I hope I've given you enough. I mean, if you'd like, I could show you, you know, here in YouTube, for example, The videos look much the same. I used a tablet. I could explain this technology, but I was dabbling with this before. It really isn't the project. So we go to this one here. It's got 261 hits. And when I click on it,
in this video, we're going to discuss the function of a full. Of this might be, if I were to give this some numbers, 5 to 1.
you get the idea. Same thing here. This is software based now. I'm teaching some programming software, right?
This video is intended to explain a bit about registry.
Right. So I mean, you could see that you kind of, if I hide the playlist there.
And all your applications.
Right. I'm opening up and playing with the software. Same thing I'm doing for you right now.
I want to explain a bit about addressing, and I'm sorry this will be a little bit scribbly, but I'll do my best to keep it.
I think I just interrupted myself there. So I hope that clears it up. This with the report, I think, is the takeaways. I'll try and put as much of this in the report as I can. If it leaves anything unclear, send me an email and I'll do my best to clear it right up. It really has been a pleasure doing this in-service teach, and thank you. If anything I'm doing here, even outside of this report, you think, hey, I'd love to try that, I'd be happy to share with you in detail everything, all the technical steps and everything that was involved to make this happen. I really think it's been a huge success, and we've converted 5 or 6 teachers now at Georgian already. Thanks, and I look forward to hearing from you.